Ladies and gentlemen, good evening and welcome to a sold-out Cardiff International Arena here in the beautiful city of Cardiff, Wales. We are live on DAZN for the main event of the evening. 12 rounds of boxing scheduled for the IBF Junior Lightweight Championship of the World. It's all being brought to you courtesy of Mr. Eddie Hearn of Matchroom Boxing and Titov Boxing Promotions. We're sponsored by Betfred, Stagefront, and JD Sports. This bout is sanctioned under the auspices of the British Boxing Board of Control. The steward in charge is Ron Pavet, and the International Boxing Federation. The president, Daryl J. Peoples, the supervisor, Massimiliano Bianco. Introducing your three judges scoring this world title contest from ringside. From England, Phil Edwards. From Poland, Pavel Cordina. And from the United States of America, Alex Levin. And at the sound of the bell, your third man in the ring, from England, A-star referee, Mr. Steve Gray. And now, ladies and gentlemen, the stage is set and we are here. This is it. The time has come. I said the time has come. From the four corners of the world to the four corners of this ring right here in Cardiff, Wales, the fight starts now! Introducing first, the challenger. He fights out of the blue corner and wears white trunks with blue trim. He scaled 9 stone, 3 pounds at 12 ounces. His professional record, a perfect one. 15 fights, 15 victories, 9 of them coming by way of knockout. Here is the former British lightweight champion, the former Commonwealth lightweight champion, the 2016 Olympian, and the undefeated former IBF Junior Lightweight Champion of the World, from Cardiff, Wales, the Welsh Wizard, Cordina. His opponent across the ring, fighting out of the red corner. He is the defending world champion. He wears the red trunks with the white trim. He scaled 9 stone, 3 pounds, 7 ounces. This rugged southpaw is undefeated in his campaign as a professional with a record of 17 victories, no defeats, 1 draw, with 14 of his 17 wins coming by way of knockout. Proudly fighting out of Kurgan, Tumen, Tajikistan, here is the former IBO Super Featherweight World Champion and the reigning, defending, undefeated IBF Junior Lightweight Champion of the World, Shavkat Rakhimov.
So referee Steve Gray calls both boxers together for the final instructions.
Okay boys, if I call break, you take 1 step back. Don't throw any punches on the back of the head. Protect yourselves at all times. Touch gloves. Good luck, lads.
Well, during the course of those final instructions from referee Steve Gray, the two men locked eyes with glares that would have made Medusa blink. So, as the two men return to their respective corners, will it be regain or retain as Joe Cordina challenges Shavkat Rakhimov in a bid to reclaim the world title that he never lost in the ring?
Seconds out, round 1.
So here we go then, 2 undefeated boxers, both boasting a legitimate claim to the IBF Super Featherweight World title, face off in the 4-cornered square of the Roped Arena. Round 1, scheduled for 12, between the champion, Shavkat Rakhimov, operating out of the southpaw stance, wearing red trunks trimmed with white, and the man who was the former champion until injury saw him get stripped. He's wearing white trunks trimmed with blue, and he's made a very sharp start indeed, catching the advancing Rakhimov with a beautiful right uppercut, content to put his back near the ropes at figure 5, spinning around the southpaw, changing angles in front of him as Rakhimov, edging forwards, scores with a long left hand to the body, perhaps his only scoring shot of the contest. But Joe Cordina looking incredibly sharp and switched on in the first 40 seconds of this opening round. It's Cordina just measuring the distance near figure 8 on the clock face, if you consider our commentary position is at figure 5. Good southpaw left landed to the body of the straight variety from Rakhimov, but it's Joe Cordina who is controlling the distance with an annoyance of a left hand. Rakhimov comes forward with a right jab, slams a hard left hand into the body just above the belt line of Cordina, who's near the neutral corner on this near side of the ring, but he's using very neat footwork to inch his way around laterally, both left and right. Rakhimov looking to unload heavier leather, but Joe Cordina busier with his hands. He's protecting his torso. His chin is an open target. Rakhimov with his hands tucked around his chin in an altogether more conventional southpaw stance. Beautiful lead right hand from Cordina, penetrating the high held hands of the champion. Rakhimov comes forward with a downward spearing left cross to the body of the challenger Joe Cordina, but Joe Cordina demonstrating terrific footwork, his feet flowing beautifully in the first half of this opening round. Right hand right down the pipe of the champion, but Rakhimov comes back with a southpaw left to the body of the straight variety. Left hook landed to the body from the champion, as the action is in the middle of the boxing ring, as Joe Cordina continuing to present angles. He's just moving as though his feet are tethered together, just expanding his stance momentarily. Rakhimov tries to launch a forward foray, but Cordina, as cool as you like, spins out of his own blue corner and gets back to the space of ring center. He's moving around the clock face beautifully, is Joe Cordina, picking his man off as he advances. There's a left hand right uppercut from Joe Cordina, and as he's been doing all round long, spins around to present a different angle. But then there's success to the body from Rakhimov, with Cordina near the corner, neutral corner on his near side of the ring. There's again a shift left laterally from Joe Cordina to present a different angle to his man, but a southpaw right clips him on his bearded chin. Rakhimov showing his quality as he digs away to the body, digging away with right uppercuts, and having success with right uppercuts and left hooks, and a cracking right uppercut from Joe Cordina as the two men trade off at figure 9 on the clock face. Cordina, after that success with his back to the strands, steps away to the space of center ring by moving counterclockwise. He then plays Matador, extending both arms, and just pushes Rakhimov away. But he continues his grim advance and sinks a solid left hand to the body, followed by a stiff left cross. What an opening round of boxing, Steve Bunn.
Well, we've seen a pattern set, perhaps, the pattern that we expected, and one that Cordina is having to work really hard to maintain and control. That was a little bit harder, that round, than I expected it to be, Barry. I've got to be absolutely honest with you.
I think I'm going to have to disagree, Steve. I thought he was really economically and clever. I thought that he let Rakhimov advance, and Joe's foot was fantastic, taking that foot, his left foot outside the front right foot of Rakhimov. When he took that front foot outside, he span his whole body down to the left, so he's almost behind Rakhimov. But he allowed Rakhimov to come forward, took a little adjustment with his feet, landed with clean shots. When Rakhimov got him to the ropes, he either fired off or span him on the target. I thought he handled that round really well. I thought it was a really good first round, economically but smart.
I thought he won the round. I just think he had to work a lot harder than I expected him to work.
We move into the second round. Both boxers were up off their stall. Beautiful right uppercut near the blue corner landed by Joe Cordina, who fires a right hand lead and then a left jab. But Rakhimov continues to press his way forwards. The action's near the neutral corner on this near side of the ring. But Joe Cordina finding the range beautifully with that right uppercut, bringing in a left hook on occasion as well. He then goats his way out of the corner, turning the tables on Rakhimov, but he gets busy with a southpaw left. It was an uppercut and then a hook. Solid left hand straight down the pipe from Rakhimov, who is then burrowing away with punches to the body. Cordina reciprocates by letting uppercuts and hooks go on the inside. Toe-to-toe trade-off ensuing out center ring. Rakhimov leading off on this occasion, targeting the head and then the torso and then the head again of Joe Cordina. Cordina goes in search of his own get back, but couldn't find a range with his straight punches. And now it's Rakhimov presenting angles, spinning around Joe Cordina, and as Steve Gray called break, Joe Cordina was pinged with a straight left hand. Steve Gray just talking to Joe Cordina about holding the heel of his glove into the face of the champion. Good left hook sunk into the body from Cordina as the men exclusively at center ring during this round, and they're really testing the conditioning and the torso of the opponent. Terrific punch picking being demonstrated. Beautiful right hook to the solar plexus from Joe Cordina, and it backs up Rakhimov, but then he gets his breath back and digs in a left uppercut of his own. But a terrific shot to the torso from the challenger, looking to bulldoze Rakhimov back to the ropes. Rakhimov came forward with a headbutt, like a rutting stag. He flexed his neck and put it on the forehead of Joe Calzaghe. Referee Steve Gray on that infringement in an instant. On the resumption, it's a left-right success for Joe Cordina, but then that was countered by a left hand to the body. First and third boxing for Cordina before Rakhimov came back and looked to target the body once again. Beautiful work to the body from Cordina. Right hook, left hook, and it swivels the head of Rakhimov, who is forced to back up to near this red corner on the near side of the ring. But then, like the champion he is, he comes back with a fusillade of punches to the body of Joe Cordina. Joe Cordina tucking up tightly, but he was scored upon by the accurate punch picking of the champion. But it's Cordina with a terrific left hand, and he dips the knees and drops Shavkat Rakhimov. The 6th time he's been on the floor in his career. The second fight in succession where a British boxer has put him down. He's beaten the count. He shows referee Steve Gray that he's okay, but he's got 40 seconds to survive. Beautiful right uppercut, landed by Cordina, followed by a left hook. Rakhimov tries to fight back, but his legs appear to be unsteady. Cordina remaining calm, picking his punches. Oh, beautiful right uppercut again, but Rakhimov comes back with a southpaw right, and then a 3-shot combination. Pings the head of Joe Cordina. Terrific heart and resolve and conditioning being shown by Shavkat Rakhimov. 10-second clapper imminent here at the Cardiff International Arena. Joe Cordina with a terrific left hand to put Rakhimov on the floor. He appears to have weathered the storm, and now will return to the sanctuary of the red corner, where he will have 60 seconds to recover. But upon returning to the corner, Steve, he was tottering like a drunken man.
Staggered back to the corner there. He was caught with too many. Once he got up, equally Joe was caught with an awful lot of shots. That round was like I expected maybe round 7 or 8 or 9 to inevitably be. What, we're being delivered a fearsome fight. Is it too fearsome, Barry?
Well, Joe, I think Joe won the round before the knockdown, but it was
absolutely.
But it was a tight round because he feels stronger, Joe. I think he felt the power of Rakhimov and the weight and thought, I can push him back. And he tried to push him back, but with that, he had to take some punches. But also, he landed with a lovely left hook. Again, took the foot on the outside. Rakhimov doesn't see it. It goes over a low right hand there to Rakhimov, and he gets dropped on the seat of his pants. He gets up, he recovers, had to ship a lot of shots there. Joe couldn't get the finish, but he has to put pressure on Rakhimov now. He has to believe in himself now, Cordina.
And as Ronald said, he staggered, nearly fell into the arms of Freddie Roach in that corner.
Well, despite the punishment that Shavkat Rakhimov shipped in the closing stages of that second round, he was up early, showing Cordina that he has come through the fire and is ready to put himself in the firing line once again. He's pecking out a sharp shooting right jab. Joe Cordina peering between high-held gloves, but that left an avenue of opportunity behind his elbows, and Shavkat Rakhimov found it immediately. Cordina spins off to the space of center ring. He takes another southpaw left of the straight variety from the champion. Now Cordina has retreated to figure 3 on the clock face. He spins off and he's dancing and darting just near the red corner on this near side of the ring. It's only round 3 of this contest, but the concentration on the faces of both men, and indeed the expressions that they're wearing, suggest that we are far deeper into the contest. That is how torrid the pace has been. The quality has been immense, as you would expect from 2 men who have a rightful claim to this IBF super featherweight world title. Minute gone in the 3rd round. The action is at center ring. Rakhimov bobbing and weaving, his elbows clamped to his torso. Joe Cordina now pinned between high-held gloves and playing counterpuncher, but his chin is checked by a southpaw backhand that came thundering in from Rakhimov, and then a right jab from Rakhimov. Cordina spinning off the line, pivoting in the pocket before coming back with a 2-shot salvo of his own in the space of center ring. The 2 boxers just on the edge of punching range, and it's Cordina who initiated the attack, which is countered immediately by Rakhimov, peppering his man with the jab, a lot of which are being caught on the gloves of Rakhimov is Cordina. And the 2 men not quite taking turns, but they are engaging in some terrifically educated trade-offs. Bit of showboating from Joe Cordina, as he just looked over his shoulder as if to say to Rakhimov, that shot you attempted was missed by a mile. But then Rakhimov remaining concentrated, shoveling punches into the midsection once again. Minute to go in this third round as the crowd dialing up the decibel level. The action exclusively at center ring. Beautifully picked right hook to the body from Joe Cordina. Rakhimov just looking to initiate a clinch. Joe Cordina tying up the southpaw left of Rakhimov while working away with his left hand. Referee Steve Gray separates the two men. Rakhimov walked onto a beautiful counter right hand after his southpaw lead right was ponderous. Terrific sharpshooting from Calzaghe, who spins in front of his man once again before pinging him with a right cross. Rakhimov's feet appear to have slowed, but when he plants them and lets them go in combination fashion like that, make no mistake, there is plenty of leverage and pop on them. Cordina spinning off to his left once again, but this time Rakhimov was hip to the movement and caught him with a southpaw lead right. Cordina willingly retreating to the neutral corner on his near side of the ring. Tried the speculative right uppercut that has served him so well, but it was off the mark. Rakhimov being implored forward by his corner team just to the right of our commentary position here ringside. Winging away with left hooks. The third one got through from Rakhimov after the first two were off the mark. But Rakhimov weathering the storm as he's picked off once again by a beautiful check hook from Joe Cordina. And this one, a terrific contest with both boxers having success, but Cordina boxing beautifully, Steve.
Boxing beautifully, and some of those counters, he's slowed down, not slowed down, he's picking his shots back a bit better in this round than he did in the previous round. Some of the counters are unbelievable, and he certainly hurt Rakhimov. He lifted his foot off the ground with a left hook, and he pushed him back with a right hand. This is a hard and draining fight, and conditioning at some point, and some point soon, is going to become a factor, Barry.
By choice from Cordina, let's not forget that. You know,
Absolutely.
He can get on his toes and spin around the tag and make this a bit more comfortable but less pleasing spectacle, I feel. But I think he feels stronger in there than Rakhimov, and he's covering up tight. And the rounds are tight up until about 2 minutes for the counter punching, and certainly that left hook at the end of the round, but also the sharp right hands he's been throwing, catching Rakhimov square and flush. As well, setting him apart.
9 fantastic minutes so far.
So we go into the fourth round. Shavkat Rakhimov dropped in the second, must be trailing in this contest, but make no mistake, this is where he often finds himself when he's fighting at world-class level. Remember, Zelfa Barrett dropped him with a right uppercut in the third round, only for him to storm back and put Barrett on the floor twice. Good southpaw right lander during a terrific trade-off between the two men near the neutral corner on this near side of the ring. Cordina still moving in a counterclockwise fashion. The two men bobbing and weaving. Good double left hand to the body, followed by a right hook rattling the ribcage of Cordina. Southpaw left straight down the pipe. Cordina keeping his composure. Low held guard around his belt line and just flicking out an irritant of a left jab. There he tried a 3-shot combination. Left, right, left hook, but all of the shots were off the mark. And then a check left hook tried at figure 9 on the clock face by Cordina, but it was long and it ended up landing with the inside of the glove. Minute gone in this fourth round, and the right hand of Joe Cordina appears to be giving him no bother whatsoever as he continues to evade the punches by spinning in front of Shavkat Rakhimov. He's not running, he's giving the man angles, but then Rakhimov lands with a southpaw left of his own. Right hand straight down the pipe from Joe Cordina, followed by another straight right hand, and of course the right hand is a textbook antidote to the southpaw stance. Rakhimov comes forward, winging away with his southpaw left, but he's inaccurate. Now he pins Cordina to figure 12 on the clock face, tries a right uppercut which was off the mark. Cordina cleverly ghosts away out of range once again, and is now at figure 6 just above our commentary position on this near side of the ring. Beautiful right hook slammed in, followed by arcing hooks and uppercuts by Rakhimov. Cordina trying to lure his man in now, standing stock still, and he timed him beautifully with a left hook as Rakhimov went hunting for the body. Cordina uncaught a left hook which caught his man flush, and he's trying to do that same tactic once again. Joe Cordina peering between high-held gloves, inviting pressure, breathing through a mouth that's open now, taking in big lungfuls of air as Rakhimov inching forwards incrementally. Action is over at figure 9 on the clock face. Joe Cordina now, his tactics becoming clear, keen or content to retreat to the ropes, but there when he was on the ropes, a 2-shot salvo saw the second southpaw left slam against his jaw. There he comes back with a left hook right uppercut. Both of the shots were off the target. Rakhimov, terrific accuracy, terrific, particularly with a final left hook slammed above the belt line of Joe Cordina. Final 30 seconds of this fourth round. Educated right hand landed twice in quick succession from Joe Cordina. He's so economical with his work, but the concentration being exhibited by both men as Rakhimov gets through with a southpaw left, which is countered immediately by a right hand from Joe Cordina. But Rakhimov having successes in this round as Cordina pinned to the ropes near the blue corner, bobbing and weaving, but Rakhimov getting through with his unswerving aggression, letting his hands go in combination fashion and clipping Joe Cordina on a few occasions in the closing seconds of that fourth round. What a round!
There were several times there where Joe countered beautifully and I think hurt Rakhimov. I think Joe's hurting Rakhimov all the time. But Joe is breathing. He is breathing. This pressure is, and it sounds like it's relentless. It is relentless. We may have been talking about it since we came on air and about an hour ago. Well, that's because it is relentless, Barry. He does not stop Rakhimov.
It's the mental concentration that drains your energy. That's what, if that's happening. What was notable in that round, though I think Joe was counting superbly, Rakhimov finished that round the stronger for the first round of the fight. He finished that round the stronger.
Yeah.
He landed his best punch of the fight, which was a long left hook from the southpaw stance. By the way, that's the first time we've seen Joe hit with a decent shot, and he took it quite comfortable. But the mental concentration that Joe needs to keep is what might drain the energy.
It's just to see what Joe does in this round, whether he moves or he continues to go toe to toe. I think he moved. I think he moved.
So again, both boxers were up early to answer the bell to begin round number 5. Shavkat Rakhimov facing his fourth fighter with a perfect record tonight. He has prevailed in all of them. Joe Cordina facing his third opponent with an undefeated record. He putting his perfect ledger on the line. Counter left hook was a response to the southpaw left cross fighting by Rakhimov from Joe Cordina. As quickening his feet now is Shavkat Rakhimov, pivoting out of the corner, getting to figure 8 on the clock faces Cordina, but he's caught by a southpaw left once again. As in hunting mode now is Shavkat Rakhimov, getting closer and now sitting on the chest of Joe Cordina, forcing the intervention of referee Steve Gray. He separates the two men, right hand out of the southpaw stance landed by Rakhimov, who is peering up from almost as though from beneath his eyebrows. Southpaw left success for Rakhimov, countered by right hand success from Cordina. Right hand left hook from Joe Cordina, who's just edging backwards out of punching range. But Rakhimov with a big feint with that front foot went for a right hook to the body, but was countered by a right uppercut to the solar plexus from the challenger Joe Cordina. Oh, beautifully timed right uppercut to the body from Joe Cordina, followed it up with a left hook, but it was blocked by the glove, as was that big swing and a miss. It was made to miss with the left hook was Cordina by the upper body movement of Shavkat Rakhimov. Rakhimov now demonstrating quick feet despite that trip to the canvas in round number 2. His energy levels appear to have recovered, and he's stepping on the gas with Cordina standing against the blue corner on his own corner on the far side of the ring, trying to draw that lead that he can counter with something explosive. But Rakhimov remaining defensively responsible. There he's caught with a lead right hand, but Rakhimov looking refreshed and perhaps a brighter, busier fighter. Oh, what a right hand from Rakhimov, and he dipped the knees of Joe Cordina, who is keen to hold on, and his legs have gone beneath him. Minute 10 remaining in this round, and Joe Cordina facing the biggest crisis of his career. He grins a contemptuous grin of that gum shield, but his legs are still unsteady, and now he's standing stock still. He's hurt by a shot to the body. He tries to claim Rakhimov, but Rakhimov maintaining the distance and targeting his man to both head and body. Cordina desperately trying to fashion a clinch. Rakhimov continues his cold-eyed stalking, lands a southpaw left hook, drops down intelligently to the body before pinging Cordina with a left cross upstairs. Cordina fighting back despite being on legs that are unsteady, and now it's Cordina turning the tables, uncoiling a cracking right uppercut, gets his foot on the outside of the southpaw Rakhimov, and Cordina appears to have weathered the storm and passed the chin check because his knees were dipped. And Steve Gray talking to Cordina about excessive holding and getting careless with the head when trying to fashion that clinch. But Rakhimov with a terrific portion of this second round as he burrows away with a burst of punches to the body out center ring. Cordina keen to impose his will and his own offense. He knows that this round has gone as his head is swiveled by a left hand once again. But Cordina sending a message to Shavkat Rakhimov that despite being clocked cleanly, I'm still here because I've got the chops to survive the left hand that you clocked me with.
And he did survive it. He did come back. He did regain his composure, but it was an awful 40, 50 seconds. He was breathing heavy, and up until that point there wasn't a lot in the round, but it was a big dangerous shot, and he was hurt. He was hurt. He wasn't caught off balance. or caught fluke. That was a good shot, Barry.
Yeah, it was a lovely right hook, wasn't it? Just over the left lead, I think, of Joe. But he also took a nice little left hand right down the centre of the guard. Also with that, it was a lovely shot, and Joe was hurt. He didn't see it. It came over the lead hand, and he was in trouble for a while. But what was notable, all before that, whatever that was, 50 seconds or whatever it was, maybe a minute before that, Joe didn't barely throw a punch. And I wonder from that round 4, where Rakhimov finished the stronger, is the energy starting to fade? Like it started to a little bit later.
Starting to think about it now.
Yes, maybe.
Starting thinking about conserving. Because I posed that question: will he stand or will he move? He tried to move, but it didn't quite work.
Into the 6th round then. Beautiful start to the round by Joe Calzaghe, scoring with a heavy, accurate left-right combination as Rakhimov bobbing and weaving with the 2 men on top of the logo. It's Rakhimov with his lead right foot outside the left foot of Joe Cordina. That's the battle for ring territory, to see who can determine who can move laterally. As Rakhimov edging forwards behind a right jab, Joe Cordina backing up towards the neutral corner on the far side of the ring, skipping off to his right. He's breathing through a mouth that's open once again. His hand is around his pecs, leaving his chin unprotected as Rakhimov continues his front foot foray, looking to stalk his man. Cordina literally legging it away from trouble as he moved laterally to his right, went in search of a left jab, right uppercut, but both shots were inaccurate. Boxers in the middle of the boxing ring now as Cordina fires a right hand lead from his belt line. It was off the mark as Rakhimov, feinting with that front foot, feinting with the eyes. 3-shot combination with a final left hook from Joe Cordina was a thunderbolt. But then Rakhimov comes back with a 1-2 combination of his own, and it's becoming a torrid 2-way affair in this battle between undefeated boxers. Good right hook slung into the body by Joe Cordina, doubled over Shavkat Rakhimov momentarily. And a right hand lead once again from Joe Cordina, who is being economical with his movements and precise with his punching, perhaps mindful of gassing out, as Rakhimov appears to have hurt Cordina to the body. Cordina backs up. He's at figure 3 on the clock face. Rakhimov literally sprinted after him and is targeting the body once again, clamping his elbows to his torso is Joe Cordina, but he's being worked over to the body and he's being reduced in height with every shot that sinks into his torso. He then fashions a clinch and claims Rakhimov beneath his armpits. Referee Steve Gray has called timeout, and he's reading the riot act to both men, saying that neither of them are obeying his instructions, and that's because Joe Cordina was keen to fashion a clinch to get some respite from the body punches that were being slung in by Shavkat Rakhimov. Good right hand lead landed a few moments ago from Joe Calzaghe, but he still appears to be feeling the effects of those body shots. Just a little bit of a concerned expression on his face as another right hook slips beneath his left elbow. Joe Cordina over near his own corner, the blue corner on the far side of the ring, but counters with a cracking left hook while Rakhimov was punching. And the pattern of this fight with Rakhimov the aggressor and Joe Cordina looking to counter, it continues here deep into this 6th round. Beautiful body punching exhibited by both men. My goodness, they must have paws made of concrete, because neither man has cracked to the sickening body shots that have been slammed in thus far. Terrific work to the body by Shavkat Rakhimov. He's the busier boxer during this portion of the round. Cordina backs up beyond punching range. The left-hand side of his face reddened. Tried a right-hand lead, but it was blocked by Shavkat Rakhimov putting on the earmuffs, bracketing his head with his hands to repel that shot that was fired in from Cordina. 10-second clapper has sounded, coming toward the conclusion of what has been a torrid round for both boxers, because my goodness, both of them were tested downstairs repeatedly.
Well, the one good thing to come from that round, which I thought Cordina lost, one good thing to come from it was, I think in the last minute, he did manage to hurt, or at least get a bit more respect out of Rakhimov, and I think Joe sensed that, and I think he needed that. He needed to land something that showed him the type of stuff he was getting in the first couple of rounds when he was clearly hurting Rakhimov. Barry, this is worrying times here in this ring in front of a crowd that's become slightly subdued.
Well, it was also feeling that I thought Joe was going to box a little bit more fleet-footed and make Rakhimov chase shadows for a while, and then we were going to get this fight that we've had from round 1 about now.
About round 7.
Yes, but still, he's been hurt with the body. He's had the checks that we never thought he's had before, and he's digging in there. He's still in there fighting, but Rakhimov's coming on strong though. He's got a cut above the right eye here, the left eye here. Rakhimov. I don't know how bad that is, but still, that might be an issue. But still,
his left eye's closing.
Into the second half of this contest we go. 6 rounds completed, a potential 6 rounds to go. And it's Joe Cordina boxing on the back foot near the neutral corner on this near side of the ring, picking off the advancing Rakhimov, running him into lead left jab as he continues to work away. Beautiful left hook landed by Joe Cordina after a right hand was slammed into the body. And Shavkat Rakhimov's left eye is closing rapidly. It's almost as though we're watching a Polaroid develop in front of our very eyes, because now that optic is almost completely closed, and that could well render him a one-eyed fighter, incapable of seeing the heavy artillery being fired in from Joe Cordina from that right flank. Joe Cordina moving counterclockwise to his right, then he moved clockwise to his left and slung in a right uppercut, but it was off the mark. Shavkat Rakhimov, as well as dealing with a determined Joe Cordina, who pings him with a right cross once again, not set up by a left jab, but he's now got the difficulty of a closing left eye to deal with. And it's a bad swelling. It is just a slit now, that left optic, as he's shaking his right hand as he comes forward. Don't know whether that's a suggestion of injury, as he's picked off by a solid, stiff right cross that jolted his head backwards. Rakhimov trying to will his way forward, but he's run onto another right hand. He simply can't see the shots coming in from that flank of Joe Cordina. And Cordina, testament to his boxing IQ, catches the advancing Rakhimov with a terrific right cross that lifted him off his feet. He was advancing to double up the impact, and now Rakhimov is a sitting target. He's backed up to the rope at figure 7 on the clock face, and Joe Cordina looking to make hay. While Shavkat Rakhimov is in desperate trouble. He claimed Joe Cordina to waltz him back to figure 9 on the clock face. And Rakhimov takes a left hook around the corner. Rakhimov could well be facing his last roll of the dice here. His chin swiveled by a right uppercut. As Joe Cordina, on flat feet, operating out of a wide-legged stance, backs up to repel the advance of Shavkat Rakhimov. Minute to go in this round. Beautiful right uppercut, left hook at center ring from Joe Cordina. Rakhimov gamely keeping himself in contention, but we have to re-emphasize that he is completely unsighted out of that left eye. He's breathing through a mouth that is wide open. His nose appears to have been damaged, as Cordina has more success with a scoring right cross. There's that same shot once again. Rakhimov comes back with a southpaw right of his own, as the two men trading punches at center ring. Rakhimov gamely willing his way forward. It's as though he's a bumper car with no reverse gear, as he wills his way into the pocket, catches Joe Cordina with a southpaw left. Joe Cordina just steals a glance to the former IBF middleweight champion of the world, Darren Barker, who's on television commentary due to hear ringside. 10-second clapper sounds. Cordina takes a right hook around the corner, which was preceded by a southpaw left. But Joe Cordina has put himself in the ascendancy during the course of this 7th round, because Shavkat Rakhimov's left eye is completely shut. It's a wobbly-legged walk back to his corner, and the champion's got problems, Steve.
You know, we could see a bruise. I think it's closing roll, and at the same time, Joe Cordina, it was like he'd heard us say it, Barry. He went one right hand, took a breath. Second right hand, took a breath. Third right hand, took a breath. Every one of them hurt and pushed Rakhimov back and worsened the eye.
And it's funny, Joe was absolutely exhausted those last couple of rounds. He sees the eye close, and the energy, you can see the energy fill up his body, like his body changed colour almost, wasn't it? He came full of life, and he had, for the rest of that round, which was really 2.5 minutes of that round, he had free range with that right hand, and Rakhimov is exhausted. He just took so many big heavy right hands there. Oh, he stayed up, was amazing.
So what you do now is you move around, even if it's your left jab, you move around to that side, pepper him with left jab, pepper him with right.
What Joe has to do is every now and again step to the right, and then square him up, really throw it, commit himself.
Well, for the first time in this battle for the IBF super featherweight champion of the world, the reigning champion Shavkat Rakhimov, making the first defense of the vacant title that he won in Abu Dhabi last November, took every second of the 60 and then some. His corner worked on him furiously. Right hand lead followed by left hook, followed by another right hand lead from Joe Cordina, catching Shavkat Rakhimov, who again uncoils a combination with Joe Cordina pinned on the ropes just above our commentary position. Joe Cordina blows out the congestion that was in his nose, gets back to the space of center ring before retreating to the perimeter of the boxing ring once again. He's over by the blue corner, just on the edge of ring center now, as Rakhimov bobbing and weaving, keeping his hands held high, trying to protect that damaged left eye. Two men just engaged in a bit of a tangle. Referee Steve Gray separates the two boxers, and now the heads rubbing together vigorously on the inside, and it's referee Steve Gray issuing stern admonishments in the direction of the champion, because he appeared to be the man who transgressed the rules there. Double right jab from Rakhimov, with Cordina skitting backwards towards the red corner on his near side of the ring. Good work to the body with straight punches from Rakhimov, who's remaining patient, keeping his composure despite the fact that he is now only able to see out of one eye. Single shot success with a lead southpaw right from Rakhimov. Cordina fires a left-right combination but was inaccurate with his work. Boxes in the middle of the ring, right on top of the logo, bobbing and weaving. Low blow slammed in with the left hand from Rakhimov, but Cordina doesn't complain. He goes in search of the right hand, followed by left jab, Cordina, but he was off the mark and short of range with both of his attempted punches. Tries the right hand lead once again, but it went long because Rakhimov slid to his right while firing in a body shot of the straight variety. Cordina looking for the right hand once again, but Rakhimov is doing a much better job in this round evading the backhands coming from Cordina. And Cordina, his accuracy has decreased, his work being bedeviled by inaccuracy now. Boxes near figure 9 over on the far side of the ring. Cordina dodging and darting laterally left and right. Good work to the body, and then a chin check of Joe Cordina once again. Then he takes the left hand to the body. He bent over as though he felt the force and the effects of that body shot before claiming Rakhimov just to regain some energy. Referee Steve Gray separates the two. It's Joe Cordina out of center ring with hands contemptuously down by his kneecaps now. Closing 30 seconds of this round, and Rakhimov's left eye is really in a bad condition, but credit to him, he has fought back like the champion that he is. It's been on grit and determination and heart and conditioning. He lands a good right hand to the body. Cordina tried to counter with the left hook upstairs, but was off the mark. Spinning in front of his man is Joe Cordina. The left hand was off the mark, but the right uppercut did get through. Willing his way forwards and letting his hands go furiously, Shavkat Rakhimov, to tattoo the torso of Joe Cordina. And somehow the energy levels of Shavkat Rakhimov have recovered, and even though when he tried to move backwards he did so on legs that were unsteady, Rakhimov somehow finds something to enjoy success in that round.
15 seconds to go in the round. Joe moved his left foot out and threw that same left hook. Wasn't as short, but it had the same effect. He staggered. So let me ask you this, Barry. In that round, did Cordina take a bit of a break, a breather, or was Rakhimov just a bit more economical and didn't present as much of a target?
I think Rakhimov, with that eye now, realised he had to claw a round back after that disastrous 7th round, and I think he did enough to win that round, Rakhimov, on work rate alone. But he got caught with a heavy shot at the end of the round. He just didn't stumble back to the corner, but he slowly walked back to the corner. He wasn't very happy. He looked troubled in the corner here, and that might have been his last push in that round.
Well, listen, let's hope it was his last push in that round, if you don't mind me saying so, because it's still an awful lot of rounds to go. 9, 10, 11, 12. 4 rounds to go. We need it. We need it.
Into the 9th round we go. The end swell iron that is steeped in ice in between when the rounds are on was being applied assiduously to the left eye of Shavkat Rakhimov, who has planted his feet in center ring and is letting his hands go like a man pulling on a rope, tattooing the body of Joe Cordina. Now Joe Cordina looking to measure the distance with his lead left hand, but he's picked off by a southpaw right, which came bombing over the top of his busy lead left. And it's Rakhimov on the front foot, looking to back Joe Cordina towards the ropes at figure 12 on the clock face. Joe Cordina spins off to his right and gets back to center ring. Rakhimov bobbing and weaving in front of his man. Joe Cordina pulls the trigger first, fires in a right hand lead, but it went over the right shoulder of Shavkat Rakhimov. Referee Steve Gray just got the man beyond punching range, and then on the resumption it's a sharp left jab from the belt line, fired on an upward trajectory from Joe Cordina. He's feinting with his front foot. Coming back with a spearing southpaw left to the body is Shavkat Rakhimov, but then beautiful movement to his right, and while throwing a right cross is coming from Joe Cordina. Rakhimov continuing to press, continuing to apply pressure to the challenger and working the body of Joe Cordina once again, who is now adopting the half cover guard, protecting his ribs with his forearms and gloves, leaving his chin wide open. Joe Cordina on flat feet, standing taller than the crouching Rakhimov, who is advancing, continuing to shake that right hand. Beautifully picked right cross from Joe Cordina, catches the advancing Rakhimov, but Rakhimov continues with another front foot advance, looking to back up Joe Cordina, but Cordina cleverly moving laterally to his right. He's at figure 12 on the clock face, and Rakhimov bobbing and weaving, trying to find a space in between the elbows and forearms of Joe Cordina. There he did get through with a left hand to the solar plexus of the challenger. Cordina very economical with his movements, and as well as swelling shut, I think there's a trace of blood from that left eye of Shavkat Rakhimov. His problems in that regard mounting by the minute. Steve Gray keeping a close eye on the proceedings. Success to the body from Rakhimov. Uppercut success from Cordina. Is volume versus quality and power in this contest for that portion of the round. Southpaw right hook with a beautiful shot from Shavkat Rakhimov. As the boxers in the middle of the ring, just on the edge of range, a beautiful left-right combination, dips the knees of Shavkat Rakhimov. Somehow he remains on his feet. Joe Cordina not following up, not risking emptying the tank, but Rakhimov must be ready for the taking. And Cordina remaining patient, being wonderfully economical with his punches. And when he lands on the button, it is having an increasingly pronounced effect on the boxing stance of the champion. Rakhimov, as he's demonstrating in previous fights, remonstrating and complaining towards referee Steve Gray. His senses appear to have recovered, slamming away with punches to the body and head of Joe Cordina. Palms turned upwards, but then while backing up, Joe Cordina with 2 straight shots, landing on the chin of Shavkat Rakhimov, but Rakhimov answering back. What incredible toughness and resolve the champion in particular is showing, as again, he has to lean on the top rope while staggering his way back to his red corner.
What an attritional fight. It's harder than I imagined it would be, and I'm assuming it's harder than Joe Cordina imagined it would be. Rakhimov, I thought 2 or 3 rounds ago, was out of this fight. His left eye closed, he seemed to be getting caught and hurt with everything. Joe's being economical, which is a polite way of saying Joe's not got a lot left in the tank and he can't let his hands go, Ronald. Although I do admire you for being diplomatic. Barry, this is a hard, attritional, dangerous fight.
The engine on Rakhimov is amazing because he's been spent for the last 3 rounds, but he just continues to work and work and work. And Joe's picking the shots, and as Ronald was saying in commentary, the shots are better quality shots. But you have a feeling he might be being outworked here, and that's the worry, that he needs to fire in spurts, but the gaps are too big in between each combination.
Round 10.
So into the 10th round we go, and Rakhimov out and accurate 2-shot combination, quickening his feet somehow after staggering back to his red corner at the conclusion of the 9th round. Rakhimov refreshed and stalking his man incessantly once again. He's got Cordina trapped near the ropes just above our commentary position. Cordina turning the ring, cutting the ring into quadrants, has now retreated to the neutral corner on the far side of the ring, and it's Rakhimov. Burst of punches being buried into the body of Joe Cordina. Terrific start to the round by the champion. Joe Cordina measures his man with a right cross once again, but as Barry pointed out, in between rounds 9 and 10, the volume is coming from the champion. The superior quality and more aesthetically pleasing punches are coming from the challenger Joe Cordina. But how will the 3 scoring judges view that existential philosophical debate in the sport of boxing? Is it volume or is it quality? It's a trade-off at center ring as Joe Cordina, left hook around the corner, hard right hand with the palm turned upwards, driven into the pit of Rakhimov's stomach, and then hitting on the break, Joe Cordina. Steve Gray on that infringement in a flash, backing up Joe Cordina, but Cordina pounds his chest on the resumption and says, come on, bring it to me, as he backs up the champion to figure 7 on the clock face. Cracking left hook, swivels the head of Rakhimov. Rakhimov comes back with a southpaw left, but Cordina content to accommodate him in an exchange, and Cordina appears to have more left than Rakhimov, who is rooted to the canvas, but with his feet planted, slams in more punches into the torso of Joe Cordina. Joe Cordina pushing off Rakhimov, that's illegal. Steve Gray warning him about that infringement. The action resumes. Joe Cordina spinning off the line in front of his man once again, but Rakhimov is one tough hombre indeed. He has been touched up repeatedly by some crackingly picked punches from Joe Cordina, and yet he is still there defending his title and letting Joe Cordina know that he's in a fight as he lands a cracking southpaw right and continues to pour on with that success. He's back Cordina to the rope to figure 12 on the clock face on the far side of the ring. Cordina trying to present a smaller target by turning sideways, but Cordina, after undergoing that burst of pressure from the bombastic punches of Rakhimov, walks back to center ring with a look of steely determination and says to Rakhimov, I'm still here as well. And Cordina, 2-shot combination with a successful fusillade for him. Cordina feinting over that front foot, right hand around his pec, left hand around his protective cup, as Rakhimov, he proffering feints now. Oh, beautiful long left hook, followed by 3 straight shots from Shavkat Rakhimov. Terrific portion of the round for him. We're approaching the 10-second clapper. The heads clash vigorously on the inside. Referee Steve Gray warned the 2 men about keeping it clean in that regard. closing seconds of what has been a torrid 10th round. They punched right up until the bell. And what back and forth action in this battle between two undefeated boxers.
There were moments there when they were acting like they hadn't been through 9 attritional, brutal, bloody and bruising rounds. Once or twice there, Joe looked fresh, but then he had to take a breather, and he was generally caught when he took a breather. But I still think he's hurting Rakhimov when he's catching him. He just doesn't have a sustained attack in him, Barry. He's still worried about the fact that there's 6 minutes, 2 full rounds left. He's got to be economical, as Ronald said.
He's worried about what comes back because he's been hurt before. If he just throws that big right hand and takes an angle and goes again quick with power, he'll have more success. Listen, he was doing really well up that round, and all of a sudden then he got caught with a decent shot. He doesn't panic, but he doesn't throw any shots, and that allows Rakhimov then to get back into the round.
There is nothing in this fight. There is nothing in this fight.
Seconds out, round 11.
Into the championship rounds we go. Joe Cordina fighting in his 5th scheduled 12-rounder tonight. Shavkat Rakhimov in his 8th scheduled 12-rounder. As Rakhimov stalking Joe Cordina. Joe Cordina with a look of concentration etched on his face, feathering out a lead left jab as a rangefinder and trying to keep the advancing Rakhimov at bay. Rakhimov, despite that closed eye, continuing to bob and weave in the pocket and walk down his man. Back skimming the ropes on the far side of the ring is Joe Cordina. Up on his toes now, just increasing the distance between himself and the advancing champion from Tajikistan. Cordina spinning off the line, tries to counter. Heads coming together violently on the inside once again. Joe Cordina's head ending up beneath the beard of Shavkat Rakhimov. Sharp shooting left jab landed by Cordina, countered by a right jab from Rakhimov. And it's that type of contest here with a minute gone in this 11th round. Both men leaning on, tying up the one hand of their opponent while digging away with their free hand. The boxers now in the space of centre ring as the volume level dialed up by the capacity crowd here at the Cardiff International Arena. Approaching the halfway stage of this penultimate round as Rakhimov with a good burst of punches, countered by a single right uppercut from Joe Cordina. But again, it's that same old equation. Volume from Rakhimov, quality from Cordina. As Cordina protects his body from a southpaw left that was fired in by Rakhimov. And despite being a one-eyed fighter, because that left orb is completely closed, Rakhimov, being a terrific judge of distance, bobbing and weaving in the pocket like a man from the Matrix to make Cordina miss, and then he comes back with a burst of punches, ending with a right hook to Cordina's chin. Both men keen to initiate a clinch and just gain some respite with a minute 10 remaining in the 11th round. Beautiful right hook from Rakhimov, turned into a right jab as he was spinning off to his right, but then back comes Cordina with his Sunday punch, a right uppercut, and he lands it once again, and he's followed with a left jab, but then Rakhimov responds with a torrid two-fisted assault of his own. Cordina aware of that, continuing to let his right hand go, but back comes Rakhimov. He's spinning in the pocket now. Now it's Cordina with a right uppercut, left hook, which jolts the chin and the head back of Rakhimov. Rakhimov scoring to the body, then a chin check of a left hand from Rakhimov, and both men in a gentleman's agreement to just lean on and gain a brief respite from this incredibly torrid pace with 30 seconds remaining in this 11th round. On the resumption, it's Rakhimov who lets his southpaw left hand go first. Action is over near the blue corner on the far side of the ring. Digging away with a right uppercut is Joe Cordina. Rakhimov tries to respond, but his work is inaccurate. Joe Cordina nods in the direction of Rakhimov as if to say, I see you and I'm still here. 10-second clapper sounds. Rakhimov twizzling that right hand as he comes forward. Accurate lead left hand straight down the pipe. Tries a left uppercut, does Rakhimov, countered by a check left hook from Joe Cordina. Cordina with a right-left combination to conclude the round. What a round! Both men enjoying success of the highest quality.
What a staggering round, and there was a point there when Joe caught him with a right hand and he went backwards, Rakhimov. And what Joe had done in the first and the second, I think in the 7th and again in the 4th, is he chased. He let his hands go too wildly. He didn't on that occasion. I know it was 20 seconds before the end of the 11th round, but he suddenly took his time, picked his shots a bit better.
Well, he's landing some lovely shots. What he hasn't, and you got to give Rakhimov credit for that, he hasn't been able to make a dent in Rakhimov, even though he's dropped him, he's hurt him, but Rakhimov just keeps coming forward.
Recovery.
He shakes it off and keeps fighting forward all the time. And he's outworking Joe in massive pockets of the round. But again, the quality and the weight of the shots of Cordina are making these zones difficult to score.
At the timekeeper calls 10 seconds. Guys, how have you got it going into this final round?
I think I've got it dead even because of the extra knockdown.
I've got it exactly the same way, Steve.
Let's have a look.
So Steve Gray instructs the boxers to touch gloves. They carry out that request, and it's the briefest touch of gloves before the two men resume hostilities right on top of the logo at center ring. This contest could all come down to this final 3 minutes, and despite both men having been hurt, having had their chins checked, with Rakhimov having been sent to the floor in round number 2, they are still here trading leather and exhibiting the qualities that all champions require at the highest level of boxing. Incredible conditioning, resolute will, and wonderful quality. The action is just above our commentary position. Joe Cordina moving counterclockwise to his right, and the decibel level threatening to raise the roof here at the Cardiff International Arena. Left-right from Shavkat Rakhimov, sees him catch Cordina with the southpaw right. That was the second shot in that combination. Cordina turning the tables to put Rakhimov near the ropes. He fires a right cross left hook but was inaccurate. Then comes back with a left right left. All of the final left hand did get through, but Rakhimov countering with a left hand of his own. And now Cordina dodging and darting near the neutral corner on the far side of the ring. Fires a left hand, but Rakhimov wasn't there. Rakhimov bobbing and weaving his way into range. Takes the flicking left jab from Joe Cordina. Approaching the halfway stage of this final round. Right uppercut landed by Joe Cordina, but at the same time, he was picked off by a left hand to the body from Rakhimov, and it has been that type of contest. Beautiful right cross driven into the body by Joe Cordina. Rakhimov comes back in search of his own success, but he's picked off by a right-left combination from Cordina. Terrific portion of the round for him, who is now standing with flat feet near the neutral corner on the far side of the ring. Right hand success to the body from Rakhimov. Cordina moves to his right, gets to the space of center ring, tries to change angles against Rakhimov, and the two men's torsos wound up in a twist. Referee Steve Gray prizing the two men apart, and the action is just on the edge of range on top of the logo at center ring. Inside the final minute of this final round. Left hook slammed into the body of Cordina by Rakhimov. Cordina getting busy with the jab as the fans dial up the decibel level once again in a bid to inspire and encourage Joe Cordina. He swings away with a right uppercut, but he's off the mark. Rakhimov advancing with just one eye working. Beautiful left-right combination from Cordina. Right uppercut, left hook, and he skipped away and followed up with another right uppercut. These cleanly picked punches resonating in the mind of the judges here now, because Rakhimov hasn't been able to answer this terrific portion of the round enjoyed by Joe Cordina. Final 20 seconds of this final round as Cordina on his bike, up on his toes and raising his palm to the roof as if to say, come on crowd, encourage me. And that portion of quality could well be decisive, as it's Rakhimov who lets go with the final fusillade of punches as the bell sounds, as the two men engage in a sporting embrace at the conclusion of what was an all-time classic here in Cardiff. The IBF Super Featherweight Championship of the World on the line between a pair of boxers who both have a rightful claim to it, and my goodness, they have treated the fans in attendance and everybody out there in Radioland to a thrilling contest that ebbed and flowed and tilted back and forth for the entirety of the 12 3-minute rounds. What a contest!
What a contest indeed. It did ebb and flow, it did do that. Then suddenly in the last round, Joe Cordina looked classy, looked sensible, hardly took a shot in that round. May have been one of his best rounds. I think that's the round that edged the fight for me for Joe. To be honest with you, Barry, I think I've got it 6-6 with that round, with the knockdown in the earlier round being the decisive factor. Either way, 1 or 2 rounds either way.
Yeah, I got it 115, 113 to Cordina.
No
a little bit wider maybe, but it was close. A lot of those rounds were hard to score, because it was, as Ronald kept saying, is it quality over quantity? Joe was all quality, and certainly Rakhimov was the quantity. He didn't stop throwing punches, but in that last round there, Joe needed something big. They both needed something big. They both really tried their best, but the quality of the work, and also being able to get on your toes and spin and move, that created the space for Joe to get those shots off to probably get him over the line.
It was so much harder than I expected, and I think Joe may have played a part in making that a hard fight. But let's get it right, looking back on those first couple of rounds, he didn't seem to have any respect at all for Rakhimov, which was brilliant visually, brilliant radio, brilliant to watch live. But, you know, the word we didn't use was he was being a bit foolish.
But the thing is, though, if you feel the strength in the first round, I think I'm stronger, or you knock, and then you knock a guy down in the second round, you go, I'm not only stronger, I'm more powerful, and I can hurt the guy. You're gonna stay in that same vein, and it's so difficult to change the pattern of a fight. No, Calzaghe did it against Kessler, changed the pattern of a fight.
In about 7 or 8, yeah.
Well, about 4 or 5, I think it was one. Yeah, it was unbelievable. No, that takes a all-time great to be able to do that. What Joe did, though, is show that he can grit his teeth, show that he can take a good shot and fire back.
Yeah.
And show also at times that he can also be vulnerable and run out of ideas every now and again, which he did.
He was hurt several times with body shot, with the left hook. He was hurt. Don't worry about that.
The thing is, he just had an introduction now, Joe. I think he wins the fight. He's just had an introduction into what it's like being when you're fighting for world titles. This is what it's really like. It's not like what it is against Ogawa, knocking him out in 2 rounds. This is what it's like. It's hard work.
Well, David Diamante is still awaiting the final tallies. That means we could well have a split decision. Remember, the one blemish on Shavkat Rakhimov's record is a majority draw against the overweight Jojo Diaz. So which way will this one go? I have to think that knockdown in the second round scored by Joe Cordina, coupled with the quality produced in the final round, will see him get over the line. But make no mistake, I've got it 6-6 at the conclusion of 12 torrid rounds. The verdict of the observers that is all important are the verdicts of Phil Edwards, Alex Levin and Pavel Cordini. And again, David Diamante is still receiving the final scores. So this one could well take a while to tabulate, Steve, when it takes this long to be worked out. And it could be a split, it could be a majority.
And Diamante's called over the IBF official who's gone over to have a look. And part of that problem is, of course, that the 3 officials, 2 of them are not working in English not being their first language. That creates problems. The cards, and believe it or not, it's not as simple as you would imagine it to be. The IBF inspectors up in the ring now with David Diamante, having a chat, they're having a talk. And I think they're trying to work out red and blue corner. And believe it or not, that can actually happen. There have been whole scores where the guys have scored the wrong corner. The right result was just the wrong way round. Let's have a little look.
So Joe Cordina, his gloves are off. He's pacing around the vicinity of his blue corner on the far side of the ring. Eddie Hearn has made his way over towards the supervisor's table. Tony Sims with a word in the shell-like ear of Joe Cordina, while over in this red corner, the gloves of Shavkat Rakhimov being removed. Both corners appear uncertain, Steve. They're subdued. There's no wild celebrations among either team.
Eddie Hearn seems a bit concerned. He's up in that corner talking to Rakhimov, and I'm not sure quite what's going on, but there's not a look of fun on his face. I mean, and as for Tony Sims in Joe Cordina's corner, looks absolutely sickened. About 30 seconds ago, Tony Sims' face changed to a face of thunder. Eddie Hearn himself is not very happy. And in fact, they want to check the bandages. They've thrown the bandages down and they're asking to see the bandages.
So
Eddie Hearn is asking for the bandages. They've slung the bandages up. They're at your feet, the bandages, Ronald.
Yep, our commentary position. We can reach out and touch the red corner. That's the sound of the ring. Here on 5 Live, that's how close we are to the ropes arena, and the bandages were discarded just at the feet of our commentary table here.
Sorry, Ronald, for interrupting. I think Eddie's concerned. I think Rakhimov's not in a great way in the corner. He seems exhausted. I think Eddie's asking for a bit of oxygen to be brought in to look at him. Tony Sims is talking to him. Tony Sims has now come over. But they've got Freddie Roach is not down on his knees, but there are a couple of people down there, including one of the bald doctors. They're talking to him to make sure he's okay. He did seem unusually shattered suddenly in that last round.
So David Diamante just awaiting the cue to get himself in position, but it is very subdued in both corners. But Rakhimov sitting on the red stool in the red corner just above our commentary position. He's being tended to by his team. People just in communication with him to see what his cognitive skills are like. David Diamante has the official verdict.
A nice round of applause out here for both of these fighters. After 12 rounds of action here in Cardiff, Wales, we go to the judges' scorecards. Alex Levin, 116, 111, Cordini, 115, 112, Cordina. Phil Edwards, 114, 113 for your winner by split decision. And the new IBF Junior Lightweight Champion of the World, the Welsh Wizard, Joe Cordina.
What a wonderful moment for Joe Cordina. He reclaims the title that he never lost in the boxing ring with a split decision verdict over Shavkat Rakhimov, becoming the first man to inflict defeat on the proud now ex-champion from Tajikistan. But Joe Cordina, by the narrowest of margins, prevails on a split decision verdict by scores of 116-111 in favor of Rakhimov, 115-112 in favor of Cordina, and 114-113 in favor of Cordina from Judge Phil Edwards. And he makes even more history by becoming the first fighter from Wales to become a two-time world champion. As the decibel level is dialed up to maximum, Joe Cordina has the red IBF strap back proudly around his waist, extends his unbeaten record, and to the victor the spoils, the winner, and once again, the king of Cardiff, and indeed the entire world, is Joe Cordina, the new, and once again, IBF super featherweight champion of the world.
Rakhimov seems a bit subdued, not necessarily shocked. Freddie Roach doesn't seem very impressed. One of those judges, if I'm not mistaken, made Joe Cordina lose 9 rounds. Is that correct, Ronald? One of the judges made Joe Cordina lose 9 rounds. Well, hey-ho, that was a bruising, bloody, savage, brutal fight. And I didn't like any of the body language I saw in the ring at the end. I was convinced that Rakhimov was going to get that decision. Although you and I had it tight, Barry had it tight enough, who knows, that could happen. If Rakhimov had left here tonight as the world champion, it wouldn't have been a bad decision, trust me. But equally, it wouldn't have been justice. Let's not get carried away.
He had to go through things tonight, Joe Cordina, he's never experienced in his life, amateur or professional, training, anything. The grit he had to show, the grit against a guy who seemed unstoppable at times there, Rakhimov. I remember you hurt him, I remember you put him down, easy to hit, he wouldn't stop coming forward. You just see Rakhimov left everything in that ring tonight. He was running on fumes from 6 rounds down. He's bent over the top rope now in tears, in despair, and that's what it means at this level. Well, you give your life to this sport, and all it takes is 1 round or 2 rounds or 1 knockdown, and it changes your whole perspective on where you belong, on who you are, on what you think defines you. It's not the case, but that's how you feel in these occasions.
Well, Shavkat Rakhimov utterly crestfallen. He's directly above our commentary position. He was hunched over the top rope, tears streaming down his face, being consoled by his corner team. Joe Cordina with that IBF strap over his right shoulder. My goodness, how he will grow from what he has had to endure tonight. The first time when he won the title against Kenichi Ogawa was the punch of a lifetime, a right hand that they'd been working on all camp long, detonated in the second round. But here, against the man who was undefeated with that title, he demonstrated the qualities of resolve and resilience and heart and the ability to bounce back and find those reserves of strength when seemingly running on empty. This is going to improve him leaps and bounds when he prepares for another defense.
Of course, because that was the biggest worry with Joe, leading into the Ogawa fight, and this fight again now, as talented as he is and all the stuff that he has going for him, which is tremendous, takes you almost all the way, or took him all the way, but we hadn't seen him in a fight against adversity, in a fight of war of attrition. Get hurt, not to have things his own way, all the things I spoke about earlier, and they all happened in one night tonight. Usually this happens the test before. McGuigan had it with Laporte, didn't he? Just before he boxed Pedrosa's winnable title. He had that really hard fight where you were going to know what you're all about. But Joe had it tonight, and he came through it, and it was tight and it was close, but so it should be at this level. But he came through, and he wasn't left wanted. When he was hurt, when he was tired, he took gaps at times, but he fired back when he needed to, he pushed back when he needed to, and he resisted. the onslaught of Rakhimov in rounds where it looked like Rakhimov was getting his second win and maybe pushing over the line.
And just a word on Shavkat Rakhimov. He experiences defeat for the first time in his professional career, dropped for the 6th time in his professional career. Such is his commitment to offense that he can be walked onto shots. That was the case again tonight, but my goodness, the manner in which he battled back from the knockdown, the manner in which he fought through the closed left eye, and the manner in which he was still able to find moments of quality, producing volume when he appeared to be spent. Well, again, those are the qualities that are the hallmarks of champions.
We can arguably say he had his better rounds with one eye. No, once that eye closed, Joe, the next round, Joe was all over him with that right hand. But the rounds after that, Rakhimov sort of thought, I'm in it now. And by the way, he was running on fumes for 4 or 5 rounds, Rakhimov. How he did that takes a special athlete. That takes only fighters can do things like that. I never had that in my locker. To run on fumes, they don't care about, if you're just going to be exhausted, if you're going to fall over with any shot, the willingness to walk through anybody to get over the line. And he had that in him. He just came against Joe Cordina tonight, who was, the fitness was filled up to the rim. He was prepared. He'd had enough weight in his shots. The quality in his work was superb, and he had to tough it out. But now we know. A good thing about Cordina, we know now that he can tough it out. We know that he can get hurt. We didn't know that before, but we know now when he can get hurt, he can recover and he can fire back. And they're really, and for yourself, you know now when you're in that situation again, you have something to fall back on. You have that muscle memory, if you like, that I know I can get through this. I just got to be clever, be smart, and not panic.
Joe Cordina acquiring the type of experience that can only be earned. We know about his sublime talent. We know about his shot selection, his boxing IQ. But the type of fire that he had to fight his way through tonight, there's only one way you can acquire that type of experience, and that is by going through it under the pressure of a world title fight against a formidable, hitherto undefeated champion. Joe Cordina has come through that fire tonight, and as a result, he has reclaimed the IBF super featherweight title, the one that he never lost in the ring. He is all smiles up there, and now big fights lie in the future of Joe Cordina. And this was a thrilling two-way contest, let's not get it twisted. And so now he becomes an attractive draw for the other champions of Oshaki Foster, Manuel Navarrete, or Hector Luis Garcia. And by the way, an all-British showdown is a possibility, as Zelfa Barrett won tonight. Steve Bunce is with the new champion.
Joe, thanks for coming over. Before we go any further, I've got no Rolexes, so don't ask me for them. That's a personal battle between you and Eddie. You've just had 12 of the most unbelievable, blistering, hard, bloody, brutal, savage rounds. Did you expect it to be that hard, Joe? Congratulations, obviously. Did you expect it to be that hard?
Yeah, listen, I knew he's a tough fighter. He's hard, he's rugged, he wears fighters down, but I've trained, I've left no stone unturned in this camp. Tony will tell you, he grafted me and he put me through my paces, and there's times in camp where I've questioned myself, but I've answered those questions, and tonight, the work I put in the gym showed tonight, and there was no chance he was beating me tonight. And yeah, it was hard, but yeah, I got through it. I know how tough I am. I know how hard I work, and I can box, I can fight, I can do it all. So yeah.
But you were hurting him throughout. I mean, the stop, the knockdown in the second was brilliant. You wait till you watch it. It's textbook. You couldn't invent it. You couldn't throw it in front of the mirror if you tried. It was the most perfect shot. You set him up, down he went, and you were hurting him right all the way through. But he just kept on coming back. It was like he could recover in 20 seconds.
Yeah, that was the thing. I hurt him, and I thought, nah, he can't. He couldn't have recovered by then. And then there was one round at the end of the round, I caught him, and I could hear him like making these noises at the time. And I thought, I got you. I got you there. Back to his corner, Tony said he's finished him, and then we've gone back out and he's just coming at me again. So, but we knew how tough he was. We seen in the Zelfa Barrett fight, he went down heavy, he got back up and he pushed on and got the stoppage. But for me, I knew how good I am. If he come on strong, I know I can move. That's my bread and butter. But I wanted to show in there, he's meant to be the bogeyman for everyone in that division. He's strong, he's tough, he's this, that. But I wanted to show that I can stand there and have it with him.
Tony, he wanted to show that he could. Tony Sims here. Tony, he wanted to show that he could stand there and have it with him. We know he could do that. That was as fantastic as that was for radio, TV, and the fans in here. You must have been over there going, "Move your feet, Joe. Just move your feet once or twice."
Yeah, I mean, he's a difficult opponent though, Rakhimov, because what he does, he closes the distance down really well. So at times you've got to stand there you know, and let your hands go. And I was saying to Joe after the halfway mark, you've got to go more in the centre and wait and counter him in the centre instead of moving off. But he's an hard man to keep off you. And as you were saying, he was hurt a lot of times in that fight, but he just kept coming and coming. And sometimes the phrase when you say you can hit someone with a cricket bat and they still stand up, he's definitely one of them geezers.
He would be the man. And Joe, sorry, Joe, it's been a torrid. From last April, you're getting ready for the June fight. That's phenomenal. You walk out of here, you're walking across the ground. You're not even touching the ground. And then the injury, then being stripped, then having to wait, then hoping it's mended after the operation. It's been an emotional 10 months, 11 months for you.
Yeah, it is. And there was a time in them 12 months or 10 months, what it was. 12 months that I thought about packing it in. I thought, if I got to wait that long for my hands to heal up and get me back into sort of title contention, it's going to be a long old road. And I thought about it, and I thought, is it worth me cracking on and starting from the bottom? But my family, my wife, my father, my mother sort of talked me into cracking on, and obviously Tony being the man he is and guiding me back to where I needed to be. Yeah, I got back and Eddie got me the title shot straight away, and here I am. The first time when I went in the office for the first fight, I said, you just get me the shot, leave the rest to me. And that's all I want. I just give me the opportunities and I'll take them.
And finally, Joe, let you go, because everybody, I mean, you seem to know everybody in the arena tonight. Finally, what would you like in 3 or 4 months? You can go and have a great break, go away with your wife now. Alas, you did the thing last year. And just go away with some of your family. What do you want for the rest of the year, Joe? What does Joe Cordina really want?
I want a holiday. I want to go to Dubai, but there's no one here to have my kids for me to go for a few days. But I think I'm going to go and watch John Ryder, my stablemate, fight Canelo over in Mexico, Guadalajara, for a world title, and then come back and then see where we go from there. Who's next?
Joe, who's next? It's been brilliant tonight. It was a privilege and a pleasure being ringside to watch that tonight. Well done, son. Absolutely brilliant. Proud of you. Eddie, just quickly, I've been told I've got 60 seconds, which is... Well, no, what can I do?
It's not even half an hour.
Eddie, what might happen with Joe now?
Oh, rest. I mean, that was just one of the best fights I've ever seen. Fight of the year. I mean, you see Rakhimov at the end of the fight. I was worried about him. He was spent. He could hardly stand up, you know, and Joe showed so much heart to come through. So did Rakhimov. Just back and forth. I thought Joe won it by a couple of rounds, and when I heard the 116, 111 Rakhimov, I nearly fell off my seat. I mean, you know, I thought, please don't do this to us. You know, he deserves this victory, and the crowd were unbelievable. He was unbelievable. You know, to beat 2 champions back to back, to win world championships is an incredible achievement, and just the beginning for him. Really, I think he's an outstanding talent.
You're going to have a stadium fight down here, aren't we, at some point?
Yeah, I think, you know, I don't know if we'll make it this summer. September maybe, I don't know, but it's a little rest. But what a night in Cardiff, and Wales has a new world champion. As I said on BBC Wales last night, without Joe Cordina, Welsh boxing, I don't know where it goes, and it's a massive shot in the arm for them. We'll steal him, obviously he's British as well, so
absolutely
we'll climb on the coattails. But what a night, just shows you really. And I'm so pleased for Tony Sims. You know, he's had so much rubbish to put up with over the last 6-7 months. People question him. One of the most honest men in the sport, one of the best trainers in the sport, never speaks out, never wants publicity. He's taken it really hard the last few months, and I'm pleased that he gets his night tonight as well.
Eddie, brilliant. I'll speak to you later on, and if I don't see you, I'll see you in Guadalajara. That's Mexico. That's where he's going now. But right now, Joe Cordina, Ronald, is possibly the happiest man in the whole global world of boxing. And why not? Why not, Ronald?
Indeed, what a performance he has just produced. An absolutely terrific display of tenacity and toughness and will and heart, and no little boxing skill to take the O of Shavkat Rakhimov, inflicting his first defeat to regain the IBF super featherweight title. He just told Steve Bunce that the first order of business is to go on a well-earned holiday, part of which might take in Guadalajara, Mexico. He's been living with John Ryder, incidentally. The two men are at similar stages of their training camps. Normally lives with Tony Sims during camp down there in Essex, but this time the two men sharing a house, and they were bouncing off one another. But Steve, your final reflections on what has been a historic evening here at the Cardiff International Arena.
Well, I agree with Eddie. I think that's one of those mesmerising fights, and of course what's so particularly good about it was the quality. You know, guys can go at each other and it can just be a slugfest of brawl that was, and that was quality. It was quality from the first bell to the last. I think Joe Cordina showed us some stuff tonight that we hoped was there. He showed us it's there. I've got to be honest with you, Ronald, I think it's a handful for any super featherweight in the world. And Rakhimov, well, I tell you what, I love him. I really do. I love him.
What a contest. The two men combined to produce undefeated fighters, putting it all on the line for a belt that they both felt they had a rightful claim to. In the final analysis, it is Joe Cordina who has regained the IBF Super Featherweight Championship of the world. That wraps things up here from the Cardiff International Arena. For Steve Bunce, Barry Jones, Manveer Rai, and our producer Patrick Whiteside, my name is Ronald McIntosh saying thank you for staying with us. And up next is the 5 Live News.
BBC Radio 5 Live.